right, welcome back to the Unlock Your Mind podcast. Andre Pennington, Jason Bove. Topic today is vision. You have to have vision to direct your life. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, dude, I'm fired up for today. Like, every time I get on the show, I say I'm fired up.
You're always
Day.
fired up.
I'm
bro.
always fired up because like these topics, like they're so important, right? But this one, the reason I like this one, because we talked about self-discipline last week. We went over like the importance of that. The reason I like these topics is because it doesn't matter whether you're wealthy, doesn't matter whether you have a ton of resources. These are things that we directly control. It doesn't. There's nothing. You don't have to have like a certain status to have a vision. You don't have a certain status for self-discipline. So I think these things that we're teaching, especially these last couple, anyone can do it. Like that's the reality, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's what's very important. But today we're talking about vision. Let me read this real quick. When Lee hit us up and gave us a topic for the week, we love our boy Lee, right? Hey, here's your topic for today, right? We love you, Lee. I was like, I'm actually going to go to the thing called the internet and figure out something, but this is important, right? So a vision is important for success because it provides a sense of purpose, direction, and focus, which can help people and organizations achieve their goals, right? So for us, obviously, you've been very successful in your life. We own Universal Wealth. You have a lot of Pennington Law. There was a vision behind it, right?
Absolutely.
But why do you feel? Well, first of all, I think a vision. Let me take a step back. I think vision, they come through you, whether I say through God, right? You get these feelings. I've had these visions since I was a kid. Right? I've had these visions since I was young. I didn't know what the hell they were. I thought I was going to be in the NFL, going to be running around everywhere, right?
Right.
But you get these little signs or visions throughout your life, and I think it's just stepping into them. But why do you think having a vision, just overall life, business, why do you think it's so important for success?
Yeah, I think a vision is the North Star.
Yeah.
Right? Like you take your eye off of it, you can make mistakes, things can go wrong. But when you're looking back up to that North Star, you always know where you're headed. And you brought up something like super important. Like you said, the visions come from God. Well, those are the ones you want to follow.
Those are the ones you want to follow.
There are some little voices in the head that are other kind of visions.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes they take your attention for a moment. But those things you said, hey, I got this when I was a little kid. It's to get you to the next step. Like, what did you learn with football that was useful for where God wanted you to be?
No, it's 100%.
Right. And I said this before on another podcast, but to me, if I have a vision, a plane is off course 99% of the time.
Yeah.
It's the 1% that actually gets you to the destination.
It's a fact.
That's how important vision is. It's your direction in life, right? So when life happens, you readjust back to the vision. Now, I think the most important thing, and I'm going to ask you your take on it. That's
Okay.
my take,
Okay.
right? That's my North Star. That's my barometer. What's your take on it?
Well, I'll say the same thing. Like you said, like I think that was a great analogy of you have the mark, right? And then life's going to do what it's going to do. But like, I'll go back to like the kid thing, and we can all attest to this, right? Like I've always had a pulling desire to like serve people like my whole life, right? It's always been there. So I knew somewhere in my, the plan for or a vision, right, would be that it would be some type of servant type of field, right? It's been that way my whole life. And then go figure, like, and then also I think I got attracted into sports young because like I saw they had influence. So like, it was like, oh, you obviously get the accolades, you get this. So I was always competitive in that way. I enjoyed that, like the getting after it part, but I liked the fact that they had a platform. I'm like, oh, people listen to them. People respect it from the outside looking in. As I grow up, I know it's not all true, but as a kid, I'm like, oh, if I can get to that status, I've always liked to serve people, man, maybe I can be someone to make a difference. Maybe people will see me as someone that was elite and then in the sport and then they would listen. So, and then that led me right into, I played a lot of sports growing up, which that ties in, right? Then I went into the military, servant ties in. Then I went and worked in education, ties in. Now I work in financial services, distribution ties in. So like it's always led from that point. We always think it's going to go one way, like you mentioned, but that North Star has always been there to say, you're going to be in this type of field. And all my gifts and skill sets have kind of drawn into that. And I think as you get older, you have to really hone in on what your part is in a bigger vision, right? Because then we now connected our North Stars kind of, well, it's only one North Star, but they went together, right? Like I'm saying, like they've connected. Then how do you now merge people's visions to go do some big work he really wants to do, which gets tough. But I know it's a long-winded answer, but I just think from a young age, we're pulled into areas that we feel or know we should be in. I think that's part of that's the beginning part of the vision. And as you become an adult, it starts to really kind of formulate itself is my kind of take on it.
Yeah, yeah. And then the number one question I hear about it is, how do you get your vision? Like, where does it come from? Right? And for me, it's like, I listened.
Yep.
I think it's so powerful that you can miss it so easily because it comes in a half a second
It comes so fast.
and it sounds ridiculous. Right? So like you said, when you were a little kid, right? Well, I would hear in my heart amongst all this chaos, right? You're a great person, right? You're going to grow up to be something, right? But it was amongst all the chaos.
It's always,
so you can miss it like it's not even happening.
it's like such a light whisper.
Yeah.
So it seems so small, but it's like, and then it keeps coming up. But I think it's important there because I've heard you say that to me before. Like, man, like I always knew, I always felt like I was a good person. I was going to do something big. I was going to be the one to make the change. And like I said, that's like the seed of it. And then as you become an adult, you start to grow into it. But here's the other part of it too. Like your vision will change over time. Like,
yes,
my vision at first was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go help a few people in our neighborhood. And I saw financial services. I was like, man, I fell in love with it. I was like, ooh, I'm going to help everybody in Surprise, Arizona. And then I'm like, I thought I was killing it. I'm like, oh, I'm helping everybody out. And God's like, okay, buddy, that was cute. Right. Then then you start to align and your vision gets bigger and you get virtual. And now I'm talking to people in all 50 states. And you're like, oh, wait, I thought way too small. Now I'm thinking, oh, just the US, this is a global problem, right? So like your vision just starts to expand, but it all comes from the same core of what we naturally had. And I think most people, the reason they don't say their visions out loud is because you get made fun of. I remember, I'll just use when I got
say that again real quick. That's super important.
This is so important. People don't say their vision out loud because people are going to make fun of them. Like they're going to be like, that sounds ridiculous. I remember sitting in my house in 2000, let's just talk about getting into financial services. 2015, I'm sitting in my house and I'm literally like, oh my God, we're going to take over the world.
Yeah.
There's like me and my 3 family members and nobody, right? And I'm like, dude, this is going to happen. But I felt it like this one wasn't quiet. This was like a freaking boulder smashing me in the face. Like, this is the moment, right? You've been grooming for this moment. There's a way to go take your servant heart, build wealth, get out there, do the things you want to do, collectively build a team. It hit me so hard in that moment. And I start telling everybody, and everyone made fun of me at work. My parents made fun of me. My brother made fun of me for 5 years. Brandon, no big deal, right? People just said like, there's no way, because they looked at someone that had a kid at 17, was doing work, but nothing. I never did anything extraordinary. I was just very normal, doing my job, doing everything. But I felt it so much, and dude, I never backed off of it. And I believe that led me to you, right? Because when you say your vision's out and you don't care what the recourse is, God will bring the right people to you, because people that have big visions, which you have a massive vision, then attract to that. But if you speak small, you get small. If you have no vision, you get no vision. They say where there is no vision, the Bible, where there's no vision, the people will perish.
Right.
People need something to follow. But I'm saying out early to the world today, like, you all have something inside of you, right? Are you brave enough to go in just the comment section of today's show and say, what is your big vision? And not worry about what people are going to do. And that's one thing I respect about you so much. Bro, we talk all the time. We say our vision's loud, and you have no problem telling people what it is. And we both can look like we're sideways sometimes, but I've watched you since the day I met you. What is it, 5-6 years ago? You've never shied away from that. From the time I met you. I'm sure there was other times in your life, but the time I met you, it's because I was speaking mine so loud that it brought another person that's speaking theirs so loud. You get enough of those. Now we're getting a few more together. It's game over.
Yeah. I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking the vision, like that first ridiculous one, you got to do something with it first.
You got to do something.
Once you do something with it, then God moves and gives you a little bit more, right? So you're going to keep stepping in to new moments and new moments and new moments. But I was thinking about it literally the other day, like when it hit me hard and loud, I was in my maybe 19, 20. And I've been following the vision ever since. And when you get practiced at anything, it starts to look easy. But I think the key thing for the listener right now is, how do you find your vision? Understanding it's going to sound ridiculous.
Yep.
Understanding it's not going to be within your capabilities in this exact moment. But how much are you willing to bet on yourself? How much courage are you willing to have? How much impenetrable faith are you willing to have in your God, in your higher power? And will you put it on the line? Because that's what it takes.
That's what it
to
takes.
follow the vision. And just like your story, everybody made fun of me. I remember when I was changing my life, people made fun of me. But what's funny is they make fun of you actually after you start doing it. They continue to make fun of you when you're successful at it, and then they shut the hell up.
That's exactly what happens
when all the success hits. Like some of you watching, yeah, I'm a multimillionaire now. What's funny? I think it's funny where you're at. How about that? Right, and that's a little bit of the dog coming out a little
but it's
bit.
so true.
But
It's true.
It's a rough road to where, and it's predictable.
Well, you know what's funny too, and I started to analyze it well as I'm, we're getting older now. We're like old men. We're like mid-40s, but we're climbing, right? But as I start to sit back, I'm like, a lot of it really has to do with, it's their own. They don't say it this way, but it's their own fear of the fact that they won't chase their own.
Yes.
So what it comes out is, they only know one way. They come at you kind of like sideways a little bit. Like my brother, for instance, right? He's my brother. He loves me, and he's like, man, you're gonna help me with my finance. You're gonna, and it was just. He knew me having a kid at 17, making not every great mistake. I was never a scholar in school. So
right.
He wasn't like, and that's a brother relationship, but he was still kind of there. But I'll tell you this, you said something. They either don't ever talk. They either go off into the abyss or they become your biggest supporter.
Yes.
It goes one or two ways, right? So my point to it all is, you said something very important.
That actually is really important. Or they become your biggest supporter.
Yeah. Because they realize, because at the end of the day, they see things that you did, and then they start to mimic themselves. And like, they see what you went through to do it, and they're like, man, like, I just know what that took. And they start to respect what happened, or they just, like you said, they go off in the abyss. But I think something's important about this is, like, God doesn't just give certain people visions. This is the part that I wanted to hit on today. I know we're talking about how, and I want to keep it more about the viewer today. Like, it's not like me and you got him, and then Lee doesn't get it, and this one doesn't get it. We all get it. Nobody is like, we didn't come out special. Hey, here's a batch of the ones that get it. Here's the ones that don't. It's just the ones that are willing to act on it and the ones that will not. And unfortunately, because of the world we live in, more people than not do not act on what it is because of fear, doubt, whatever that is. That's why watching the other episodes we have of your self-discipline will keep your vision intact forever.
Yes.
Your daily habits will keep your vision, because there's a easy road to success. I keep saying it's easy. It's very hard to do it, but it's actually, there's a really easy blueprint. And if you do the same things over and over again, success is inevitable, right? But you have to start, they say, with the end in mind. But dude, literally, I'll just use, what was my vision for financial services? I said, all right, well, I'm looking at some stats. What can keep me around? And I said, okay, let's end financial literacy. So that was my vision for the company. I'm going to work day in and day out until we end financial illiteracy. And then I was like, okay, there's 231 million people in the US, 5 billion people in the world. I think I could do this till I die. So you got to also set a goal that's absurd.
Yes.
Like, I know in my lifetime, I'm not ending financial literacy between
I don't
now.
know that.
I don't know either, but logically, right? Between now and the time I'm 40, the next 60 years, I think I can make a dent in 5 million people. But I know that me and you together and our great organization, we could start the trajectory to where maybe it's our great grandkids. But I think that way already. Maybe we'll set it. The next wave will come. We got our great sons, right? We got other kids too.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, they'll bring on the torch. And then, but let's just say it takes 10 generations. We started it. That's my point is, that's the vision of, like, I'm like, dude, I put the mark out that encompasses, they say make a vision big enough that everyone can fit inside of it. I'm like, all right, well, I think 5 billion people is a lot to get to with all of our politics we have to deal with and everything else, and currency. So that's just in our financial services company.
Right.
Forget about all the things we want to do in the world. And I think when you get that big of a vision, people are like, you're so energized all the time. Yeah, we get tired, bro. Trust me. We get tired, right?
Yeah.
We're tired today. But when you have that vision, you can push through another day, right? So anyway, I know I said a lot in there. I know you want to
I'm sitting here thinking, like, we never talked about this. Like, we didn't talk about this in this moment. But you're like, that's your vision. And what happens when you I see a different piece of the same North Star,
Yep.
right? And we don't know which leg of the race we're in either, by the way. So we might be the very first ones taken off, and we got the fourth guy a generation from now that needs that baton,
Fact.
right? So, but I wrote an article, I think 2 days ago or something, that's going to be published in Forbes magazine about this exact same thing, about that vision you just talked about. Why financial services can change an individual's life and the people around them, and how easy it is to start moving that direction. Now, is somebody going to read that and jump in? I don't know, but it's a spark.
It's a spark.
And it's all aligned with the exact same vision. And we know it to be true.
Fact.
Right? And you hit on another key point. It appears easy when you're doing it, except for when it's hard.
Yes.
No, but
it's true.
Right? Because, yeah, I'm going to get up. I'm going to be disciplined. Sometimes I'll miss the mark, but I'm going to jump back on. I have the vision. I can get back on course. And you have moments in life that are just hard. Life is hard, right? But you're always headed that direction. And that's the simple difference of being a superstar, an expert, somebody who knows what they're doing. It's because you're putting all your effort in the right direction versus somebody who's off kilter and they start going in different spots and they end up here and they never have a way to get back to the original path.
Bro, you're tripping me out right now. Because honestly, we've talked a little bit about, but not this in depth, right? Here's something I want to say. This will be my final word, something I want to finalize on today. And then you could finalize what you want. But this is very important to me. We both, so if you guys watch some of the past shows, you talk about you getting into estate planning because the way that you felt with your grandma, right? It was something that triggered you back then. You've always had a servant heart. Dude, you went into law, right? For crying out loud, right? There was reasons for it.
First, I went into government
law, yeah. Yeah. But dude, we grew up in two completely different ways and areas, right? It was you were grinding it out. You had your dad around. Mom wasn't there, right? Your grandma was the first motherly figure you had at that point of your life that really, maybe not, but
I never caught that, but it's probably true.
That took you in. I just listened to my lens of the story. I'm not saying that's what.
No, I never thought about it that way. Probably true,
right? So I grew up with my parents there the whole time, right? I said to have kids early and threw my rough in a wrench. But my point is, but we had two dudes, totally in different upbringings with the same heartbeat money, right? And I'm just gonna say a couple of things about our vision before we even met each other. You've always had a vision of like, I'm not gonna conform to the norm,
right?
I'm gonna be in law. I'm gonna be one of the best attorneys on the planet, but you ain't changing me, dude. I like wearing hoodies and I like doing this. Now I'll do what I got to do, but I'm not going to change who I am. You've been saying that forever. I'm on the other end in financial services in a company. Like I'm doing appointments in gym shorts, whether they like it or not. I don't give two craps. Like I'm not conforming into this. We don't even know each other at this point.
Right.
In our stories, and I started in 15, I didn't know you yet. I didn't know that you had that same thought process going on. I'm just over here saying the same exact thing in a lane where like, you're not changing me, dude. I'm me. You either take me as I am or not. Then we connect and the visions just merge like this because we were doing the same thing indirectly outside of each other, but saying the same stuff. Like, bro, we got to unlock your mind. Universal Wealth's part of this thing. We're taking over this type of personal coaching, letting people know who they are. Like, you ain't going to see the same thing in 12 months from now.
No.
All these people out there doing this will be different. We will change the trajectory of it. The way financial service is done, we're doing it different. The way that anything we touch, because this is how we're built, like we're not going to conform just to conform, right? Like when I got in financial services, the trigger that actually, what first was I saw it. When I saw that my dad didn't know nothing that was going on, my hero, my entire life didn't have a clue how this worked. I saw how crappy his retirement plan was, all that. It lit a spark, and I was like, there ain't one family ever going to feel this again. And then I hear you tell your story about your grandma. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I didn't even know you when you said that. And like, but that heartbeat's inside of us.
Right.
So here's another thing. When you have a vision or a purpose, which ties into vision, right? And your life calling you start moving in what you're called to do, God will put, or your higher power put everything around you that you need, right? I didn't even know this guy existed in the planet, right? You see other people on the show. Russell, we just had on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Weird. Kind of beats the same exact heartbeat. You hear the same stories coming out of him. We didn't even know who Russell was until we met him, until we moved up here. But I believe the real, like really when the vision starts to do what it's meant to do is when multiple people with the same vision start to come together. That's when you start to make a big change in the world. And I think that's what's happening right now in every arena we're touching. It's not just me and you. We're now, because of what it was, it's starting to draw the right people in. And dude, what we're about to do in every sector that we touch is game over. And it's not because we're the two greatest people. We're literally just going in what we're called to do. And dude, if you actually get around us long enough and you get around, we do it completely different. We are completely different. We have the same animal inside, but our mind's like comes out as like a little Care Bear thing. And then Andre has it too, but then it turns into like a black bear. Which one's the most aggressive? The grizzly bear? I think it's a
right? Probably a polar bear, man.
I don't know.
Hungry all the
polar
time.
Bear, right? But like, but our purpose and our visions are so aligned, and we don't try to change who we are because God is calling me to do it a certain way. God's calling you to do it a certain way, but we're impacting so many. And I'll give it back to you right now. I saw your voiceover on a video of a young lady that we have on our team that we just met a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it on social media.
Yeah, I did.
You were talking, your voice, she was on there doing her thing. And she said at that event, man, I resonate with you. She likes me. We get along well. And there's nothing wrong with this, but your guys' journeys are very similar. And bro, within a few minutes, and because the way the world works now, I've never seen her this active on it. Just in a week. I've never seen her this confident to talk about what's important to her. And bro, she runs the lash company. Yeah. Is it lash company? What they call it? Or cosmetology or something?
It's lash.
Lash, right? Lash. Since she's good at it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my God, that thing's about to blow up. Like that is about to blow up because of she bought into. She had the same vision.
Hey,
she just tied it together. So go ahead. I'm going to give this to you. Go ahead.
You know, I'm not responsible for that.
No.
You're not responsible for that. God's responsible
for that, man.
If you follow the vision long enough, you'll find that your actions and what you do inspire others to take that match and light their own soul on fire. Right? We just hold mirrors as a reminder. And some people are going to respond by they see themselves, so they laugh at it. Right? And then some people see themselves and they dive deeper into it.
Yep.
And it's all about mindset and where you're at and what you're listening to.
But I agree with you, man. We'll wrap on that. At the end of the day, today's whole episode, man, and it started out and we're talking and we want you to step into what that voice is that is talking to you. Whatever area, man. Like, what if her purpose is just to dominate that entire sector and then give a different light when they're sitting down getting their lashes done, speaking about the things she's learning through us? Maybe that's why the channel's that way. So my point is, we want you to listen to that voice inside and then step into what it is. But go in the comments and put down what your vision is. This place, we will encourage it. We will back you up. Crap. We'll have you fly out, come out of the show. We will promote what you have. We want to know what is your vision. And I'm telling you, when you finally, that took me till I was 33 years old, bro. 33 till I felt confident to step into it.
Yeah.
33. Man, someone's watching that's 19 that needs to step into it. Someone's watching that's 65 that needs to step into it that never did it. Man, step into it and start moving at it now. And we want to know what your vision is, and whatever we can do to help you get there, we'll help you get that done. God bless you.
Hey, good show, man.
All right, babe. Good show today.